Serum 2 can now load samples into it via the new sample oscillator type, which allows you to stack up to 3 different samples and process it through traditional synthesis technique. This really opens up the door to Serum and allows you to essentially treat it like a rompler by importing samples from old school romplers, and we can really start to get tones out of it that we couldn't previously. So on my channel, if you're new, I've done tons of videos on 90s romplers or synthesis techniques where there's this very distinct sound that modern VSTs you just can't really achieve because they are sample based. There really truly is a unique sound you get when you create patches with samples. So what I've essentially done is converted my Uncanny Dreams Volume 1 and Volume 2 sample packs into playable Serum 2 presets. Now let me show you how you can make Serum 2 sound like a 90s rompler. One technique that I did a video on about a year or two ago is the single note technique. Now what we do with this is we take a sample that is just a single note being played, we loop it up, and then what we can do is play an actual chord with that single note. Now when you do that, you're going to get a very distinct effect that is incredibly unique to this method of creating patches. What happens is when you play a chord, all the different notes scrub through that sample at a different speed or pitch. And when you loop that up, you start to get these overlapping textures. It's just, again, an incredibly unique sound. And if you want to learn more about that technique, check out this video where I went super in depth on that. But what we can do in Serum is we can load in those single note samples, and we have the ability to loop them up here, crossfade those loops as well, and use different loop types. And then we can come down here, allocate enough voices of polyphony, and that then allows you to play those chords with single notes. And so in this preset pack that I created for Serum 2, there is a single note category, again, pulled from my Uncanny Dream sample packs. And these are all just single notes where you can come in and play chords with them. So I can load any of these up. Now, the other technique here from the 90s is this concept of sampling a chord itself. And so in these two chords categories here, again, we have chord samples from the Uncanny Dream sample packs. And the idea here is when I load in one of these, it's already a chord sampled. We've restricted the voicing to one note of polyphony, and you can now play a chord with one finger on your keyboard. And that gives you that super old school 90s sound like you'd hear in house music, old school jungle, etc. And if you want to get a little more smooth on the transitions here, you can increase that polyphony to 2. But the super old school way is to just have it on 1 so it cuts off instantly when you transition notes. And so there are a bunch of these chords in here that are great for just single notes, super old school sound. Now, I didn't do a ton of processing on many of these, so just some basic release on the amp envelope so you get a smooth fade out, looped when appropriate on certain types of sounds, and then a very basic effect chain. So the idea is you can come in, you have a great starting point for these samples already loaded in, again, looped when needed, and then you can go and further tweak these. Now, there's a lot of these great, like just old school ambient jungle, deep house type pads. But there's also a lot of great sounds here for like that Silent Hill, old school ambient horror sound. So something like this. And of course, the lower you play on the keyboard, the grittier and darker that sound's gonna get. Now, also within here, I have a bunch of different effect sounds within here. And these effect sounds, again, come from the Uncanny Dreams sample pack. And there's a lot of things here akin to those like late 90s sample packs, like the Spectrasonic things, the 0G ambient sample packs. A lot of like industrious, dark, brooding type funky sounds that you really don't see much anymore in modern sample packs. And the name of the game with these, again, is, you know, playing at different pitches on your keyboard and not being scared to get down low, where it's super gritty, or up up. Now, some of these are looped up again where I thought a loop would be appropriate, so something like this. So just that like super dark, Silent Hill, Resident Evil-esque type sound. And then the nice thing about this is when you load these in, and let's say you set one of the oscillators to a sample, you can actually come into this browser here, and if you go under packs after you install this, all the raw oscillators or samples are available here, right? So all the samples from the different presets, you can essentially take them, load them in, you know, normalize, loop it up, really tweak it to your heart's content. and do whatever you need to do with that. And so that's kind of it, folks. Wanted to just briefly show this new capability in Serum. I think it really opens up the doors to things. And then if you're interested in getting this preset pack here, Uncanny Dreams Serum 2 edition, I'm going to have a link down in the description here. And actually for the first week, I'm going to offer it for half off. There's a coupon code down in the description as well. It'll make it $5 USD if you want to pick it up. And the other thing I'll add here too is if you already own Uncanny Dreams Volume 1 and 2, the raw sample pack version, this preset pack is essentially 95% of those samples. So, if you already own it, candidly, you could just drop them in, set up the samples yourself. But if you don't own it, this is a great way to get some really unique sounds that, again, you just don't really see in sample or preset packs these days. So definitely go check out Serum 2. Pretty cool tool. Have a good one.